Hello, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. I'm a buddy Rhett. It is 10:55 a.m. on Sunday. It is beautiful here where I am in Marietta, Georgia. It's 74 degrees Fahrenheit, which is one of the best temperatures you can have. We're very blessed here that we get about out of the 365 days of the year, we get about 70 or 80 days that are just absolutely glorious. There are some places in the United States that literally 360 of 365 days are absolutely gorgeous, and a tiny little house where one of those places are will cost you $5-6 million. So um, we're lucky because it does get very very hot here and pretty cold, and but we do get great days too. So it kind of pushes out the weaklings. So I have a nut for my buddy Rhett. Let me hand that to her. She seems to be looking forward to this one. Oh no, she usually doesn't like those nuts. We have five more. That was number 6. We have five more of them to go, and then we can get other good nuts that she likes. Those nuts she likes the least. I don't know if she actually likes them the least, or it's just that we've had for like the last 40 days. That's all we've had. All right, so our application is up. I'm going to do this just for fun. I swear I'm not going to dig into this. F12. Let's see, performance. Just curious. Um, and oh, not performance. That's neat though. That's actually a beautiful layout. Um, let's go to. I'm going to make this a little bigger. We want memory. Oh man, cumulative layout shifts. 0 is good. 40. That's really good. 40 milliseconds for a layout is like, I think the goal is 60. And then largest contentful paint. Man, that is really cool. Yeah, let's go to memories and let's check if we have any detached elements. Yeah, so we have a ton of them. Um, just all over the place. The count isn't particularly high and all that. I'm pretty sure, like, anytime. So these probably are very, very tiny. They're not good, but you could probably literally have a million of these and still not see resp- any issue. Um, these are probably pretty expensive, and it's kind of cool. So we know that the tab apparently is creating detached layouts, and then these are the buttons that are showing up in there. So I think to me that means that I probably on a large application would not use tabs. And I'm pretty sure that these buttons are from this thing here, which I definitely would never use something like this again in a large, or I wouldn't use the Angular material on a large thing. Um, Yesterday I was in my other project, and I was like, on something big, I won't use Angular material at all. But that's not true. I think I do. Obviously, like at the top. I mean, that was a crazy statement. That was insane. At the top, I at least want to use the icons. I mean, the icons are amazing. Um, and honestly, like for an application like this, I don't see any problems. So basically, yesterday we got the end-to-end, top-to-bottom wire up of um, two new properties. One is called interim results, and another one is called process locally. So let's kind of dig into interim results a little bit. So I'm turning interim results on, and interim results are I had them on by default for continuous because I don't think continuous works in a very well. I don't know. I just don't even know. I think continuous ignores this. If it's if it's continuous, it gives you interim results. Period. You don't really have a choice. But with discrete, it actually seems to do something different. And I believe, if I remember correctly, when I first started, if you had discrete and had results on, it just didn't work, which does kind of make sense because that does kind of seem like the way the folks that build this API seem to kind of approach things. Like they like to get stuff out there and then give you the attribute and then like sort of have it kind of not do anything, which makes a lot of sense to me because like fewer moving parts, and then flesh it out. And I like that pattern a lot. But anyway, so I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to turn it on with that on. And so let's turn it on. Hello. So as you see, we got 3 back. And I think that 3 back is very, very fascinating because you see that we got the second thing we got back actually had the highest confidence level, and there was just 1, and it was right. But the first one was also correct. It had a very low confidence level, but it was correct. And then the third one had a lower confidence level, but had returned 5 things, and 4 out of those 5 things are just wrong. Because I'm not really looking for American slang. I'm looking spelling, internet spelling slang. I wanted the actual value. So this one is the best one. It kind of seems like so the pattern that you could code programmatically for is I get 3 results back. If I get 1 in the first and 1 in the second, then that's and with a low priority and a high confidence, that's probably the correct one. And then the third one seems to just be very noisy and less useful for anything I can imagine. Maybe it's more useful in certain things yeah, I don't even want to try to think of when you would actually want this to say hello. The only way I could imagine this being useful, and this could be due to my lack of imagination, and generally most people think I have a vivid imagination, is like if you were trying to trick someone into thinking they're interacting with a person when they were actually interacting with an AI. That is the only possible reason I could see this being there, is deceptive. But maybe that says more about me than anything else. But I just can't think of a good positive reason. Like, I guess now that I think more, I can think that maybe this is returning just sort of interesting things that people do. Because I do know that sometimes I'll do this. I'll say hello and with ... or with oh at the end. So maybe this is just more of a commentary on different ways that people like to spell it, and that might be useful to some degree. I don't know, but I think that is useful. So let's turn it off now and try it again. Hello. And see, this time all we get is the last value with the 5 values. So that's the way that works. Okay, so now let's try it in Edge. This technology seems to be supported in Edge and in college football week 3. I think the way that they've changed college football with the portal and things like that is probably extraordinarily useful to Georgia Tech and Oregon and schools like that. See, Georgia Tech has a kind of like it's not. I don't think it's going to ever be like a sort of the best route to try to get into professional football. But a degree from Georgia Tech is without a doubt. Like the one thing, if you get a degree from Georgia Tech, is you never have to prove you're smart. And that is really helpful in interviews if you don't have to demonstrate you're smart. Because a lot of times when you have to demonstrate you're smart, it's very difficult to also come off as humble and nice. Georgia Tech people can be humble and nice. And they're like, well, he graduated from Tech, or she graduated from Tech, so she's definitely smart. So I could see, like, if you were a very good football player, but you're probably not NFL, you don't think you're quite good enough to get in the NFL. Georgia Tech would be a great place to go to get a degree that is, that demonstrates that you're very, very smart. So, anyways, let's go ahead and turn interim results on and record it. Hello. So with this one, we got two results back. One that is just your sort of raw result, and one that is your without any apostrophe, and then the next one is with apostrophe. Now it'd be interesting just for fun. Let's just see what happens with hello. Let's see if it puts an exclamation mark or something. Hello. Yeah, same thing. Um, and I think, well, let me try this. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know. Oh, did I hit? I think I hit home instead of. Okay, so let's keep it off. Hello. Okay, so we got that. So now let's turn interim processing, interim results on. Hello. So we got two back, one without the. So that's pretty nice. You know, you could be like, okay, do I want the raw value or do I want the value with like um, apostrophe with punctuation and capitalizations and stuff like that. Um, now, let's try one more thing. Hello, how are you? So we got three back. And you notice they don't do confidence on edge at all and all of that. So when I first started this application and working with the voice analyzer, I just assumed that the API was embedded in the code. And so as we were working through, we found out that, well, the results are not embedded in the code. The results come from the cloud. And then they're processed in the cloud and they're returned to the browser, which was very, very useful to know and interesting. And then, um, but then came to find out that no, that's not even true. I mean, that's true. That's true, but that's not complete. The actual truth is the entire API is delivered. So all of the underlying code is not from the browser. It's from the it's from Microsoft or whoever. So you know, like how how that works is just is isn't quite like I thought. The way the browsers used to work, the way browsers work today is different than the way browsers used to work. So I think that probably like is not that big of a deal today, but it is probably going to be a big deal over time. And I do think that in the long run, that's probably going to be a very good thing for like the more bare base bone browsers, like possibly DuckDuckGo or Brave or one of those, um, because at least you know where you're getting every time. Um, with these other ones, the flags come in, the flags go. Honestly, if I was trying to build like sort of an application that was for like an application that was for a lot of people that didn't need this sort of API, but it was like say I had a company and I had 10,000 agents and they all needed like an insurance company and we had 10,000 agents and they all needed to like use some application. I probably would try to build more to like a DuckDuckGo or something like that. Something where you can be pretty sure that um, the API is going to work consistently and that you can just say, okay, this we all use this version of DuckDuckGo, and so you can expect it to be the same. You can no longer expect that with Chrome or Edge. What code you're getting is completely, outside of your control. So completely outside is probably overstating it, but anyways. So you notice that the Edge works different than Chrome for this, and it's because the API code itself is different, and the standard is and there's no standard, and that to be fair to them, there is no standard, so they kind of have to just sort of do their best guess. So uh, Edge's best guess apparently was that, I mean, Chrome's best guess, Microsoft's best guess was that you would get. Google's best guess is that you know you would get like these variations, and Chrome's best guess, I mean Microsoft's best guess is that you would get one value back, and the first value would come back with no punctuation, and then the second one will come back with punctuations, which this one to me for just the sorts of things that I do is so much more helpful than this one. Now, this one would probably be really good for like there's probably a lot of additional meta information you could get from this, like you might guess like what the age is. Like if they put a W at the end, maybe they're under 14, but if they put an S at the end, then they might be between 15 and they're like most likely between 15 and 30, and 4 zeros might mean they're between 40 and 50, and 5 zeros is 50 and 100 or something. Like there's just probably extra information that they're mapping to with this that makes this valuable. And then these guys are like, okay, we want two versions back. We want one that doesn't have any punctuation and one that is punctuated. So, and that would be like a pretty cool little application. Like you write in a sentence and then you return the sentence back to them like this, and then they tweak the sentence for the proper punctuation and capitalization. So let's try this. I am here to party. So this one came back and it's like I, lowercase I, and then this one came back with a capital I and a period. So like if you were trying to make some sort of tutorial or some kind of teaching thing to this, but like I don't know how, if you can count on from week to week if this is going to be how this works, and I don't think there's any way to ensure like lock down this functionality. So I am here to party with my friends every single day. Okay. Let's try to do something that would have like a comma in the mornings. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a word, a sentence where there would be like a comma. Um, uh, uh, okay, let's try this. In the mornings, only when it rains, I like to sing. So in the morning, only when it rains, comma, I like to sing is apparently the proper grammatical way to use to do this. But like, and then this is, so if you take the last two, one of them just gives you the raw value, and then one of them gives you all the punctuation and all that. And I could see that being extraordinarily useful, especially for like, like I could imagine having like this, and then in a text box, and then you update things, and then it gives you like a little gold star when you have it matching. That seems really cool. Again, I don't know that you can count on this functionality. This functionality seems like you wouldn't be able to count on it. So let's try in the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing, with not interim results. In the mornings, only when it rains, I like to sing. So, we got one value back, and it was with all the grammar and everything in it. Let's see, what are we at on this one? Okay, interim results is on. In the morning, only when it sings, I like to sing. only when it rains. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. So, as you see, all you get is this one, but we got 7 variations that it thinks we might have said. Unfortunately, oh, my. Oh. It would be kind of cool if this was highlighted when. All right, let's just re-clear. So turn that off. In the morning, only when it sings. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. So we got 7 variations in the morning. Okay, so, and that is interesting. So this is like a synonym. No, it's not a synonym. This is I can't remember what the word is. It's spelled the same way, but it has two. It's not spelled the same way. It sounds the same, but it has 2 different spellings. And based on the spelling, you know what it means. So this is being sad. And then this is a very popular name. I know in India, maybe other places. And then this, it thinks I might have said see, not sing. And then I don't know what the difference between this one and the top one is. In the morning, only when it rains, I liked. So this one made it past tense. And this one basically made it exactly right, except for it made it a person's name. I like to sing, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't really make sense in our normal human context, but like only when it rains, I like to be this last name. I don't know. Whereas in the morning, I like to sing, and this is the sad version. Like this is like you're mourning someone. Usually, I believe it's only directly based on like death. If someone dies, we're still in mourning. People will say, and they're talking about being sad, which I could imagine being very confusing because mourning also is a time of the day. And then this one was right. Now, oddly enough, all the confidences appear to be identical, which does not seem normal. So, anyways, that in a nutshell is exactly how the other that works. Let's try it for. I know yesterday we tried it continuous. Let's see, settings is interim results is on, and then so this is the default behavior for Google Chrome. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. All right, so you see that we had 24 different versions that came back. This gave us 2 alternatives. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. What is the difference? Only. Oh, and then it put another only. In the morning, only when it rains. Yeah, that's weird. So now let's turn continuous interim off, which is not the. I don't think this is not how it used to be. I used to have it hard coded. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. So as you see, we didn't get nearly as many back. Last time we got 24. We only got 4. So that is, so it does behave differently. Yesterday, based on my experience, I had assumed that it was. And then I think you get this one. This is the base one. And then you get, apparently we got 1 blank back. And then we got these 4, and then these 4, and they were identical. So I don't know. It seems like it's not quite working right, but it seems like you're getting only 1 set. But for some, you're getting the same set. You either get nothing or the same, and you just get the same thing over and over again. So it does actually behave differently. Let's see what this one is on. Okay, interim results. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. So we got 12 signals back on this one. with continuous, was it off or on? Oh, interim words. Okay, so let's. Well, I'm very curious about the other ones though. So this was, yeah, like as I was saying, it was returning values back. Um, Turn interim results off. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. Yeah, so we only got one thing back. I'm gonna refresh that just to be. See, look at that. Why would the when you look at these two, like so that's why I went hit that home button instead of um, the refresh button because it's in the exact same spot. Okay, interim results is off. In the morning, only when it rains, I like to sing. So yeah, so it seems to work perfectly. Um, with it seems to work exactly as you'd want it, as you would imagine, with continuous. All right, so I think that will do it. I think next Friday we'll kind of do a deep dive and try process locally and see what happens. If I remember correctly, yesterday we did a quick one and process locally didn't work at all, like just nothing. It didn't do anything. Um, so it didn't ignore it, but it did it definitely, or at least in Chrome, it totally like it said, oh, okay, we want to process locally, and then it just never came back. So who knows what that could be? Like maybe I could install something on my machine and it would process locally. I don't know. It would be good to do a deep dive into that. Maybe it would be interesting. Hopefully, I can remember next week to go into ChatGPT and ask, hey, is there something I can do to make it to? Because it seemed like it was trying to process locally, it just didn't have whatever it needed to process locally. Um, so that would be neat. That would be very neat if that could work. And then once I've pushed this out somewhere, I can definitely try it on a phone and see, because I do think that the phone probably has more of that sort of thing in it. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.